And we're going to get started. Welcome back to everybody for our closing presentation and our closing ceremony for the 2021 Yale CBIT Healthcare Hackathon, our largest and most international event ever. We're so excited to have everybody joining us again and coming from all over the world. We are super excited, and thank you for the comments about James Bond. That's what I'm going for. So just a quick introduction before to sort of the event before we get started with the final judging. So if we could go to the next slide, please. All right. And for those of you, if you want, don't worry, if you didn't dress up, you can mute your cameras, exactly. But so again, we are so excited. We had an unbelievable weekend at our Big Data and Real World Evidence Hackathon this year. Just amazing hacking. We saw unbelievable participation through Discord, and we had such a joy. Next slide, please. So just to cap it off, we had over 575 participants and registered participants, about 116 from the Yale ecosystem. We had 260 unique institutions represented. 228 of you were first-time hackers. We had 34 countries that were represented, about 50% international. You can see on the map where people were from all the continents except Antarctica. Next year, we hope we'll send someone there. In terms of backgrounds of who participated, we had a great mix, but about 75% of you are students. I will say that I know we have some elementary school students who participated, high school students, and all the way up. In terms of participants, Yale University was representing the most with 71, Georgia Tech in second with 20, the College of New Jersey at 11, Borough of Manhattan Community College with 9, and University of Florida of 9. Next slide, please. And just to give a sense, so of that, we had at least that we know of 350 participants. We heard 109 pain point pitches. We had 71 team formations, which is fabulous. We had volunteers, 50 mentors came and gave their time to the Genius Bars and to the individual mentors. We had 20 committee members that helped us. We had 8 semifinalist judges this morning or this afternoon, and now we have 6 final judges who have given some time today. We'll hear from them in a minute. We had 5 fabulous fireside chats yesterday. That was fun. We had the 4 simultaneous Mentor Genius Bars and 2 outstanding keynote speakers, Dr. DeSalvo and Dr. Krumholtz on Friday night. And we'll have the links for those videos later. And you can see just a screenshot. I know that was from the Friday night event of how many people were participating. Next slide, please. And just want to thank our committee members. So we had a tremendous Yale Hackathon committee of students, and you can see we had an advertising and outreach committee. I'm just going to name them by name because they're amazing. Ellie, Patricia, Molly, Lynn, Michelle, and Sophie, who are advertising and outreach committee. Our logistics committee, which gets a huge round of applause this time, was Irene and Christoph and Victor and Indira, Sammy, Anmei and Kari, great job. And then the Mentors and Judges Committee, all the coordination work that was all done virtually this year. Jody, Hema, Jonathan, Sawyer, Daryl, Eric, Emma, and Jenny. Thank you so much for your time. They've been amazing work to put this together and make this event come through. Next slide, please. And then a big thank you to our semifinal judges, our final judges, and our 2021 Hackathon sponsors. Again, sponsored by Yale School of Medicine, Verana Health, Yale New Haven Health, CIMMIT, the Consortium for Improving Medicine with Innovation Technology at MIT, and the Yale School of Public Health. Next slide. Okay, so this is the final presentation list. Before we get started, I'd just like to introduce our judges. I'd like them, if they don't mind, to raise their hands virtually if you can, and unmute yourself. And I will call on you just to give a quick introduction of who you are. And I'm going to start, if that's all right. I saw Dean Vermund, if you don't mind unmuting yourself and just telling us who you are.
My name is Sten Vermond. I am a pediatrician. I'm an infectious disease epidemiologist, and I serve as the Dean of the Yale School of Public Health.
Thank you very much. Dr. Torres, Aracelis Torres.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. My name is Aracelis Torres, and I am the head of clinical data science at Verana Health. I am an epidemiologist by training. Prior to joining Verana, I was at Flatiron Health for over 5 years, and across those two experiences, a lot of exposure to the healthcare technology space, where my day-to-day does involve making sense of a ton of real-world data and translating that to real world evidence. So super excited to see a lot of the great work today.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kasha.
Hey everyone, I'm Neetu Kashyap. I'm a primary care physician by trade and serve as the Associate CMIO for Yale New Haven Health. My interests are in population health and clinical decision support. Happy to be here.
Great. Dr. Spatz.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica Spatz. I'm a cardiologist and focus on patient engagement in the cardiovascular preventative space and using different digital health tools to facilitate engagement. Great to be here with you.
Dr. Shulam.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Shulam. I'm a urologic surgeon. I was former chair of the Department of Urology at Yale and co-founder of CBIT. And now for the past 5 months, I've been at Johnson & Johnson, and I'm Chief Medical Officer for Medical Devices. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Justice?
Hi, Amy Justice. I'm a general internist. I have a PhD in health systems and have spent 20 years making sense of VA electronic health record data for clinical epidemiologic research.
Fantastic. Thank you all for giving your time today. And I want to just congratulate, before we go on to the hackathon final presentations, I want to just congratulate everybody who worked really hard and all of the submissions. We are just so it was very difficult to get to this top 20. So without further ado, I think we're going to start with the first one, which is this the order that we're going to do it, Jody? So Kidney Bean is going to go first.
Yes.
Great.
I'm unmuted. I just said yes. All right, excuse me. Team Kidney Beans. This is the team group number 145. We're going to play your video, and then after the video, we'll have some time for question and answers from the judges.
Thank you very much.
Slight technical difficulties. That's all right. We'll get there in just a second. I'm going to delay here as we go. First one's always the hardest. So if you go back to the PowerPoint, there we go. The sound was good, though. That was our sound check. So we were just testing to make sure. Here we go.
We are the Kidney Beans team, and we are creating a software to increase renal diet compliance in hemodialysis patients. Currently, there are about 750,000 hemodialysis patients in the United States alone. These patients receive treatment 3 times per week, every week, to replace lost kidney function. Due to the inability of these patients to remove excess liquid and toxins from their body, they are required to maintain a strict renal diet. However, they only meet their dietitians once a month. This gap in communication leaves much room for patients to go astray. And in fact, a study found that nearly 80% non-adherence to this diet by hemodialysis patients. Some of the biggest factors include lack of support, missing knowledge of the iron and fluid contents of their food, and a difficult to understand measurement system. This non-adherence can lead to clinically significant adverse events, such as hospitalizations and cardiac arrest. Nearly $2 billion each year is spent on hospital costs attributed to renal failure.
To solve this problem, we proposed the Kidney Beans app. Out of a lot of functionality that this app will provide, we are going to discuss the daily tracker. In this feature, you will take a picture of the food that you're going to consume or enter the name of the food. And then machine learning and AI will figure out, or rather estimate, the ingredients in the food as well as the quantities. The user will be given the option of removing any ingredients that are not present in the food, as well as add any missing ingredients. Finally, the user can also select the quantities of the food if they're not correct. The app will then tell the user the amount of their daily limit that they have already met after consuming this food, and this will help the user plan their meals. This data will also be shared with the dialysis center for the patient, and the dialysis center can then use a multiple regression model to train on these different data points and then figure out early enough if there can be any diet-related adverse events and help the patient.
So because renal disease disproportionately affects low-income populations, our goal is to shift the cost burden away from patients themselves. Therefore, we plan to target the 7,500 hemodialysis centers in the United States as our initial target market for this technology. These centers will pay for this technology because by minimizing adverse events associated with diet, they will increase their national clinic score, which will affect their reimbursement amounts for treatment. And they will also minimize revenue lost from patients who are hospitalized and receiving treatment in the hospital as opposed to in the clinic. As an example, we plan to charge about $26,000 for a 200-patient clinic based on the initial setup and dietitian dashboard, as well as tiered subscriptions for all of those patients. With diverse backgrounds, our team is well suited to take on this challenge. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So we'll take two minutes for questions from the judges. If the folks from Kidney Bean can at least raise their hand virtually so we know you're here. And we'll start with questions from the judges. Amy Justice, I see a question from you. You got to unmute yourself, though.
How will you adapt this app to make it user-friendly to the individuals who need to use it, since many of them are older individuals who have limited experience with technology?
All right.
Yes.
So,
sorry, I'm not sure I know how to raise my hand, but we're here.
You got it. You can unmute yourself. Great.
Perfect. Yes. So we plan so the reason that this is created really simply to just allow patients to take a picture of their food, we think that that's pretty much something that anyone with any level of technological ability is able to do. So if they can't really do anything further than just take a picture of that food, that's really all that they have to do, and we'll still allow dietitians and patients to have significantly more information about what they're eating than they do currently.
Great. And Dean Vermoon, I saw a hand. Yep. And if you could
measuring the volume of food is immensely challenging. How do you think that AI will succeed when complex human studies have often failed to actually assess quantity?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so something we actually found is that there is an API already in development that allows you to kind of take a picture of your food and back calculate the actual recipe for that food. So that's something that is already kind of currently in development that we would plan to tap into. For now, it would kind of be an estimation and would allow the patients the option to make changes to those estimations based on their knowledge if they wanted to do that.
Great. Thank you very much. I think that's our time. We're going to move on to the next one, which is stay healthy and pay less on your health insurance. If you could get ready to unmute yourself on that one.
Hi, we're Team 176, and our pitch for today is to stay healthy and pay less on your health insurance premiums. To set some background, India is the second highest population of diabetic people in the world, and it's the elderly people that are hit by this the most. Adding to this, only 11% of them are covered for their diabetic treatments. So we went ahead and narrowed down our problem statement. On one hand, there are the elderly people who are not able to find insurance plans that fit them, and on the other hand, due to overwhelming amount of claims that the insurance providers get, they are unable to reduce the premium costs. So in one line, our solution is to incentivize healthy habits via offers on insurance premiums. So let me get into our demo for today. These are our characters today. So there's Sindhu and Anita. Both of them are 53-year-old female Indian citizens, and both of them have been paying 5,000 rupees per month on their insurance premiums that cover diabetic treatments. So let me get into the demo now. So Anita came across our product and she's been using it for the past 3 weeks. So today she logs in and she's been recording her sugar levels, and the app's been giving her some insights on how to manage her health better, and based on this she's also been getting a wellness score to keep her motivated. So today she plans to take a reading, and she hasn't had breakfast yet, and she's going to go ahead and take a reading. So she has this low cost and pretty efficient device that she uses to take her blood sugar readings. So it just works out of a USB and it does not require a battery. So she's inserting a strip to apply her sample to take the reading. And once that's done, she will be able to get the reading. So now she has to sync the reading from the device to the app. So she's doing that, and as you can see, it's just 115 mg per dl, and she's pretty happy with this. So she's going back to the dashboard, but looks like she's gotten a reward now. So she's curious. She goes and sees that. It looks like this is her 10th time recording glucose levels with the app. So she's on a streak and she's gotten a 20% off on her next month premium, and she's pretty happy. She goes back to the dashboard, sees that her health score has also gone up, and Anita's overall pretty happy today. So let's look at the after scenario. So Sindhu's still been paying 5,000 rupees per month on her premium, and also is a little unaware of her health status and where she stands. On the other hand, Anita is got that 20% off, so she's down to 4,000 per month on her premium, and she is happily on top of her health metrics and is having a really great time using the app. So that's the end of our demo, and to kind of quickly summarize the business aspects of the solution, one of the ideas is to offload the device, whatever was the device that Anita was using. It's a glucometer and it costs under $10, but if you're able to offload it to the insurance providers to give it for lease to the users, that's the first proposition. And the second is that given we have this large user base of diabetic people, this becomes a highly niche segment. So cross-selling becomes a great product market fit for this app, and that's the end of our business model. So this is our team, and we aim to give hope to elderly diabetic patients in India. Thank you so much for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So we have some hands up from the team members, but I'll look to the judges here to see if anybody has their hands up or has a question. You can go ahead and unmute yourself. Erica, go ahead. Dr. Spatz. Yep.
Thanks. Is the business plan to market this to insurance companies, and what is the plan for distributing this kind of product?
Yeah, so what we thought is either we will sell this to the insurance companies and it reaches the end customer. So when the customer orders an insurance, and this device will be couriered to the customer's house, and they can easily connect it to the mobile and they can use it. So in Indian context, people buy their own insurance, and employers, the case where employers buy insurance for the employees is very rare. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Dr. Shulam, I saw your hand raised there.
Yeah, I just had a quick question, because in your initial problem statement, you had mentioned that there are many elderly patients who have diabetes who are uninsured. So I just wanted to understand correctly. So your problem statement then is really just solving for those with insurance?
Yeah, so there are some diabetes insurance plans, but those are very less, and the premiums are quite high because the insurance companies are not able to have a better visibility of what is happening and the risk factor which is involved. By bringing this particular device into the picture and by getting the constant data of the blood sugar, we'll be able to give a better visibility, and that helps them to offer insurance to people who are on elder ages.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, team. Stay healthy and pay less on your insurance. Next up is going to be Team Moby. So if Team Moby can raise their virtual hands, and Stay Healthy can lower your virtual hands, and we'll switch over to Team Moby. Thank you so much.
Imagine yourself as a pregnant woman and suddenly you weren't. How dreadful would you feel? According to a new study, 1 in every 4 women face this dreadly experience of losing their baby during early stages of pregnancy. Meet Jenny, a 24 years old pregnant woman working as a software developer. Jenny loves her work more than anyone, but that has cost her baby's life. There are hundreds of factors that could go wrong during the maternity period. One such example is Jenny's negligence to track her body temperature due to her work life. Introducing Mobi, a smart remote pregnancy monitoring solution that comes in rescue to provide real-time monitoring of mom and baby's vitals throughout all the trimesters. Dear moms, every morning you wake up wondering if your baby is safe and healthy. Mobi provides that information right in your hands with the ergonomic design leveraging high-tech silicone skin touch technology. Mobi patch can be easily attached to your body to track your baby's health. Mobi also comes with a wristband which monitors your activity and vitals. Mobi gathers most important vitals of you such as heart rate and body temperature. It also monitors your daily activities and blood oxygen level. Along with that, using high channel hypersensitivity sensors, Mobi can collect real-time fetal heart rate, movement and contractions. Through Bluetooth enabled passive IoT technology, Mobi can seamlessly connect with Mobi app installed on your smartphone. Using advanced machine learning technology, Mobi performs time series analysis of your fetal's vital and predict the abnormal fetal heart conditions such as fetal acidemia and bradycardia. It also monitors mom's vitals and provide maternal history to provide actionable insights and reports that can be securely shared with loved ones and doctors. Mobi performs real-time monitoring with customized predictions and provides insights for each trimester accordingly. Starting from day 1, Mobi rewards analytical overview of each trimester and provide curated recommendations. Here is a sample weekly analysis generated by Mobi, which is stored in the cloud for performing long-term analysis and easy access. According to a recent study, global fetal monitoring market size has hiked with CAGR of 5.3%, and it is estimated that advanced fetal monitoring solution can get lucrative opportunities to reach wide range of customer segments. We are Team Mobi, comprised of enthusiastic experts with technical know-how in big data, IoT, machine learning, biomedical, and health informatics. Please join us to make every mom to feel safe and happy during their pregnancy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. So we have some hands raised from team 308. Any judges questions? Go ahead and raise your hand. Oh yes, Dr. Torres.
Hi, I was curious with respect to the product. Is it something that the potential mother will have to remove and put back on? Is it sort of waterproof, safe? And if they do have to remove it, what sort of mechanisms you have in place to remind the individual to put it back on?
So the silicon touch technology is actually wearable for around like throughout the day, either it be a work or during the home. It even can be worn during their workout and exercise events. But however, it may not be a waterproof technology. So we uh, uh, we we will recommend the mothers to wear not to wear during swimming or other activities. Yeah.
Sorry, I saw Dr. Spatz first.
How is the data used? Is it used by the woman or by her healthcare team? And are there concerns about the frequency with which the data are looked at, given that this is such a highly litigious field, and there's, to my knowledge, no proof that tracking these data is associated with outcomes? What's the plan for using the data?
So that's actually true. Like there's no like curated data sets available that this happens, this will definitely lead to problematic situations. But however, there is a scoring system that can be used in order to actually predict the temperatures. For example, predicting the temperature if it is uh, if it is higher for more number of days, then as curating a list of events can be captured and then can be analyzed in order to give satisfied recommendations and also to do a next steps. So the data will be actually used by both the algorithm which we have in the application that does a time series analysis in order to get the actionable insights, and for example, giving the right kind of uh, dietary after recognizing some abnormal behavior of the baby. And also this data will be helpful during the remote monitoring during either be it a pandemic situation, or it can be easily shared to their doctors.
Great. Thank you so much, Team Moby. So we're going to move on in the interest of time to Communicare is going to be next. So if Team 308 can lower their virtual hands, we'll have Team Communicare raise your hands, and we'll switch over to Communicare. And we'll just make sure that we can hear it. Yep, go back there. Thank you. Go to the start.
We're excited to introduce our new tablet app to humanize communication and help patients regain control of their lives. There are 4 great challenges that patients face on a regular basis. This includes 70% of patients ask for items not indicated on the communication board, 65% reported sentinel events in ICUs that were caused by communication errors, 48% of hospitals in the U.S. encounter patients with limited English-speaking skills daily, and 33% of conscious patients in the ICUs are unable to use the conventional call button systems. Current methods of doctor-patient communication, such as laminated medical communication boards, are outdated and frankly dangerous, limiting patient communication abilities while creating a setback for care providers. Introducing Communicare, a reimagined approach to the design of medical communication boards, giving patients a voice when they are unable to speak for themselves. Communicare is a tablet app designed to allow patients, such as those who require medical ventilation, to properly communicate with their care providers to regain control of their care and well-being. Communicare has been designed to reduce the feelings of fear, frustration, and anxiety that can come with medical miscommunication. This increased communication comforts the patient while reassuring care providers. Researchers have found that improving communication between healthcare providers and patients can reduce patient injuries from medical errors by 30%. Introducing enhanced communication. From the communication board, the care provider is able to add or remove words and phrases from the board. This ensures the patient is able to clearly communicate using vocabulary similar to their typical vernacular. Communicare is customizable to each patient. We've created a storyboard to provide a visual representation of how Communicare could be used in an actual scenario. This storyboard acts as a tool to visually predict and explore the user's experience with the product, how the app solves the challenges users currently encounter, and to help understand the flow of people's interactions with the product over time, illustrating the expectations of the product and a clear sense of what is really important for the users. Our business model provides a viable solution to help hospitals save on costs, improve risk management, utilize data tracking with patient equipment and behavioral qualities, and create a scalable app to be used in various patient care settings. $6.8 billion can be saved annually by reducing communication barriers that could lead to an adverse event. Our ultimate goal is to decrease emotional turmoil, reduce sedation, shorter ICU and hospital stay, and lower healthcare costs. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to go take a couple minutes for questions from the judges here. Let's see. And thank you if you could stop that sound there, Jody. Hold on one second. All right. YouTube sometimes goes to the next one before you even want it to. All right. Dr. Justice, did you have your hand raised there? You got to unmute yourself.
I'd like a little clarification about the business model. Why should hospitals invest in this? What will motivate them to do that, given that insurance may not pay for the extra costs?
And Corey, you can unmute yourself if you're trying to talk.
There we go.
Perfect.
There you go. So in terms of the business model, our focus is on cost savings. So the data tracking within CommuniCare allows hospitals to evaluate how frequently pillows are being requested, how often blankets are being used, where resources such as in-hospital translation services or how staffing is being utilized. By tracking, however, how often patients are requesting the aid of nurse care, that's one way that it can evaluate a cost savings there. In addition to that, really looking at, oh, you'll have to forgive me, I'm absolutely exhausted right now. It's really about a cost savings at that point and risk management. So.
Okay, great. Time for another one or two questions from the judges. Yep, Dr. Vermund.
Could you make it clearer exactly how this new platform with its new elements is going to be accessed? Are we talking about a tablet, or are we talking about some device at the bedside? I kind of missed that.
It's a tablet application, so it would be a hybrid app between iOS and Android. Our goal is to make it as accessible as possible to everyone. So regardless of whichever device you use or whichever devices hospitals would implement in their services, we would have the app designed so that it's versatile across all platforms.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
All right, and Dr. Kashoff, last question.
Sure. So your application talks about integration with multiple hospital systems. There isn't one system that calls the nurse or the dietitian or another form of communication. What's your plan for integration with some systems, or will this need a standalone monitor?
At this point in time, the goal is to make it a standalone. It would be an independent app. Initially, we were toying around with the idea of integrating features from products such as Medical Heartbeat. But as we started to really evaluate the business model and where there is value in this product, we sort of recognized that we needed to step away from that model and look at more of a cost saving structure and looking at risk management. So at this point, the goal is to focus specifically on ICU care and design a scalable platform so that it can enter into the markets of home health care, nursing homes, and other places where an overall AAC device would be required. So that's why we've allowed it to have customizable vocabulary. You can pick and choose, much like the apps on your tablet, which apps you want to display on your home screen. You can choose which words and phrases would be displayed on your home screen within the app. The challenge with a lot of boards right now is, especially with the VitaTac Easy boards, is that you're restricted to the space of an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. With the tablet application, you can completely expand and elaborate vocabulary. They have an opportunity to use words and phrases such as "I love you" that wouldn't necessarily always be included on a paper board.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, CommuniCare. So the next team up is going to be team 339, which is HID. So if CommuniCare could lower their virtual hands and HID could raise their team 339 and we'll go to the next one. Thank you so much.
Hello, we are Team 339 and we are HID. There's a significant problem in healthcare with inputting your medical history. This involves inequity in care and inefficient processes. For example, language barriers between providers and patients and immigrants reduces quality of care, or patients with dementia who have difficulty remembering which medicine they take. Also, inefficient processes. How many of us have filled out the same forms again and again? And what if we are unconscious but still need to provide emergency providers with our allergies? These are examples that all result in significant impact on quality of care. So how do we address these problems? By employing a universal quick transfer system, ensuring cybersecurity, and reducing healthcare inequities. These goals can be accomplished via a portable card kiosk to transfer medical information, using locally stored, encrypted, and dual-factor security, and making this technology low-cost and accessible. This can all be accomplished by HID, a novel ID card dual design.
The patient will bring their HID card to a kiosk to communicate the previous information with their provider. At the end of the visit, patients will sign out of the kiosk, uploading their visit information onto their HID card. Here's an example of user interface for HID, where patients can fill out forms and providers can also input their information. The design problems that we encountered were, what if the patient doesn't speak the language the kiosk is in? The HID system is equipped with language translation software. What if the patient loses their card? The card has biometric authorization and lost cards will be wiped on next use. What if the hospitals are wary of having user uploaded device onto their system? The HID card can only be accessed via HID kiosk, removing potential malware infection. How can we trust user input data? Patients will only have access to edit a number of parameters. How will we protect our intellectual property? Through patenting the card and copyrighting the software. What about current cybersecurity concerns with patient data? Avoiding cloud-based storage and substituting for local storage removes risk of potential infiltration by malicious hackers. During emergency situations, can the HID card be accessed? Providers will be given the special key allowing access to patient HID cards in emergency situations.
By creating a unified, up-to-date information source of a patient's entire medical history, HID improves the efficiency of getting proper care to those in need. HID gives patients a convenient and simple solution to having to fill out long and tedious medical forms, and they can be confident that their information is secure because of our top-grade biometric verification. HID directly connects patients to their healthcare providers and improves the quality and efficiency of healthcare. HID's biggest strength is the lack of current competition in the US, and it offers opportunities for growth and expansion in the global market. A current weakness is the requirement for widespread hospital participation, and a potential threat is global competitors using cloud-based software. HID's secure design meets all legal standards by avoiding the local storage of any protected health information on our kiosks and avoids frustrating regulations. Since we keep in mind both the patients and the hospitals in the design process, our design is marketable on both sides of the equation. Our design is targeted for both general and emergency use, making high-quality care easy to access regardless of the situation. Our design is more secure than other cloud-based alternatives, directly connecting patients and their providers and giving patients control over their own medical history.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. So we have the time for some questions here from the judges. If anybody has their hand up, I'll call on them. Dr. Justice?
How will you get hospitals to adopt this? If everyone doesn't adopt it, it's not going to be very useful.
So one of the goals with adopting it is we have a few different strategies for that. One of it is its efficiency. We can market it as it can increase their efficiency, thereby increasing their profits, which is of course profitable to them. We also want to target it as affecting low-income patients. So I work in a hospital that has a lot of Hispanic population, and a lot of the doctors don't speak Spanish. So having that integration of medical records for new immigrants in Florida, that's a massive thing to me. I know that's a massive thing to hospitals. Similarly, we want to partner with hospitals to really output the device. So once hospitals use the device and use the software, they'll actually be incentivized to really get people to use the HID, which then will eventually spread across the nation.
Great. Yeah, Dr. Spatz?
Can you clarify, is the data bidirectional, meaning the person's getting their health record data on their phone as well as uploading their own personal data to their health record?
You may need to unmute yourself if you're talking. Oh, we'll let you unmute, Parker.
Yeah,
Hold on.
sorry, we can.
That's okay. Go ahead.
We weren't able to unmute.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the information is stored on the card, and the patient is only able to access the information and edit certain fields through the kiosk, which is going to be in place at medical care centers. We chose that design to improve the security of the cards, as well as allow patients to easily transfer information between multiple doctors at different institutions. So that's reducing the amount of contact that healthcare providers actually have to conduct between different institutions on their own.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. We're going to move along. Thank you, Team 339. That was fantastic. We're going to move on to Alice, which is an AI-enabled clinical study wizard. So if Team 339 can lower their virtual hands, and if Team Alice can raise their virtual hands, that would be fabulous.
Our project is called AI-enabled clinical study wizard. The problem that we're solving is to reduce the $48 billion in affordable costs every year as incurred when running trials. And the costs include issues with the protocol, patient insight difficulties, as well as changes in strategy or standard care. So Alice uses data on past studies to derive insights that can improve the design of future studies. And it does that by automatic creation of study protocol templates, using input from similar trials and new trials, and using AI to optimize site and patient. So here's an example of an ongoing trial at phase 3, and we can take the data of this ongoing trial and feed it into Alice to help plan a new trial. This animation shows the prototype that we developed. It basically creates and pre-populates a protocol template that's based on the common protocol template from an organization called PlanCelerate. So this is just an overview of the market size, and we believe that we can reach about 155 life science companies in the US. And this is the business model that we're proposing, and we believe that we can get an estimated annual revenue of about $1 million. Some of the comparators in the space, and our product mainly works at the study design stage to prevent costly amendments and delays later on in the trial workflow. There's a little bit about the team. So we have backgrounds, and we have experience in health tech, physics, simulations, business, and computer science. So we have a pretty diverse set of skills. And what we're looking forward to do next is to partner with academic medical researchers and also find team members with healthcare or life science background that we're lacking. We also want to look at the different methods to optimize site and patient recruitment, and also identify trial types and disease groups that we can use for implementation. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. So we have a few minutes of questions here. I see one from Dr. Torres.
Hi, a question that I had, one of the challenges of the clinical trial space is that the standard of care is constantly evolving and the treatment landscape is always changing. How will your product know what are the most relevant trials to learn from in designing future trials?
Yeah, so what we're looking to do is use a way to find the most similar trial to the one that you're planning. And there could be different features to look at, like we could probably use text analysis as well. We could probably use structured and unstructured data, so like the type of trials and some other metadata, along with some text analysis itself, to try and get the best match of to try and get the best match for the trial that you're planning.
Okay, we have time for maybe one more question for this team. If not, we can move on. All right, thank you very much, Alice. We're going to move on to Alzheimer's Connect. So if Alice, if you can lower your hand, thank you very much. If the team from Alzheimer's Connect can raise their hand virtually. All right.
Mild cognitive impairment works quietly, slowly causing the victim to lose their memory and have their judgment impaired. As a tangible response to such a dilemma, we have created Alzheimer's Connect, a technology-based assistant to aid mild cognitive impaired patients and their family members. In our current climate, such an initiative is of paramount importance as elderly individuals are frequently left to their own devices in their homes with no mental stimulation due to COVID-19. Alzheimer's Connect is comprised of two parts. Clinicians and family members will use a mobile app, and this app is then connected to the patient's Amazon Alexa through Amazon developers' Alexa Skill Kit.
The mobile app allows clinicians and family members to build an account. This account can then be used to monitor the patient. Once the account is linked to the patient, family members and clinicians can access the patient's history, such as have they taken their medication, has there been no motion or sound detected throughout the day, signifying a lack of consciousness. These seemingly rudimentary features allow for simple check-ins with the patient.
CBC is one of the most commonly requested lab tests. It's an important
and can be bought for less than $30. Alzheimer's Connect requires no other device to function.
Our technology is an add-on that leverages existing smart home technology paid as a subscription based on freemium models. Initially, we release a base tier offered at free to low cost for their patients and families to give them a chance to try a product with low risk. This will give us a chance to build brand loyalty and reputation. Competition in this market is very low. There are very few digital apps targeting patients with mild cognitive disorders specifically designed to integrate smart home technology into changing patients' daily habits and connecting patients, families, and clinicians on one platform. To fund, we will first target accelerator funds specialized for medtech and medical devices. Second, we will crowdfund through online platforms specifically targeting investors of smart technology, healthcare and biotech, and patient support groups. Now let's take a look at a demonstration of Alzheimer's Connect. Alexa, alarm off.
Good morning, Grandma. Let's start your day. I just texted Anna, your daughter, that you are awake. It's Saturday, January 23rd. Let's play your favorite song. Hey there, Grandma. It's 6:15 in the afternoon. It's time to take your 5 milligrams of Namenda. I will play a sound. Once you have taken your medication, say, Alexa, I have taken my medication. I will play a sound until you tell me you have taken it.
Fantastic. And apologies for some of the decreased sound. Hopefully everyone could hear that. All right. So questions. We have a few minutes of questions here for Team Alzheimer's Connect. Let's see if I can see any hands raised of our judges. Or go ahead, Dr. Vermund. Oh, but you're muted now.
Says.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay. I'm getting some strangeness from my computer. The question I have is around your business model. So who's going to pay for this and why?
Sure, should I take that? So we're looking to make this app actually pretty patient and family facing, mainly because of the fact the core problem that we're actually trying to address first is the connectivity between a part-time or full-time caretaker in a busy world who may live an inconvenient distance away from, the person that they need to take care of. And ultimately, they're going to be the ones who have control over how they program and essentially what they want the app to be able to do for them. And for that reason, it's not something that we're really going to be pushing on clinicians to implement across the board, but this way families have more autonomy, caregivers have more autonomy in how they choose to take care of, their family member. And so family members will ultimately, or the patient's family, I should say, will ultimately be the ones paying for it.
Great. Time for one more question. Any questions from the judges? If not, we'll keep moving in the interest of time. We're doing great. So next is going to be CB Dot. So if Alzheimer's Connect can lower your hands, thank you so much. Great work. CB Dot, raise your hands. All right.
CBC is one of the most commonly requested lab tests. It's an important baseline investigation that assesses blood components such as RBCs, WBCs, platelets, and so on, and forms the cornerstone of several medical diagnoses ranging from anemia and infections to hematological malignancies. 44% of the global population resides in rural areas and have concerningly limited access to healthcare. Having worked in rural primary care centers in Karnataka, I can tell you that it's slightly more challenging for patients to get this test than you would imagine. The problems faced are lack of infrastructure, prohibitive costs, and prolonged laboratory turnaround times that may be as long as 24 hours. What we need is a rapid, reliable, and efficient service delivered at a low cost.
Introducing CB., a faster, easier, and smarter way to perform blood tests. Instead of the conventional vials of blood used for CBC testing, CB., utilizes replaceable microfluidic chip cartridges. Each cartridge runs one drop of blood through a microfluidic chip, separating it into its individual components. CB., then uses dielectrophoresis and an impedance analysis circuit to record data, which is then uploaded into the cloud. Our software stores this data in a patient's file and highlights any anomalies it finds. But we've realized that in different populations, what's considered normal can differ. We trained a k-means clustering plus machine learning model with the CBC data from our target audience to determine a new set of safe value range. This is integrated in the CB.app, which notifies physicians upon the completion of each test and provides the patient's biographical data and a brief summary of anomalies present in their CBC results to physicians. Current CBC tests utilize hematology analyzers, which cost $3,000 to $4,000 apiece, take 24 hours to complete, cost between $5 to $7 per test, and require skilled laboratory technicians to work. CB.app has significantly shorter turnaround times at 1 to 2 hours, utilizes cheaper hardware with each device costing $300, features more inexpensive tests at $2 per cartridge, and requires exactly zero labor-intensive lab work.
Our competitors consist of large-scale companies like Sysmex, Abbott, and Siemens. Their products have been used across the globe and have multiple and varied benefits. As you can see, CB.'s rapid results and smartphone compatibility creates one holistically beneficial device. The CB.app device costs $300 and has a shelf life of 5 years. The device will be sold to the 236,000 plus Indian primary health centers. Each test cartridge will cost patients only $2. Targeting the 39 million residents in rural India, the total available market per year will be $92.2 million. Taking only 20% to address the serviceable available market, our target market would be around $18.4 million. Our variable cost pricing model will allow us to break even by our 3rd year. Our entry point is Indian rural communities, later hoping to expand internationally. CB.app will be sold to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of India, who will then distribute the device to primary health centers, bringing CB.app to patients. Our next steps are to continue prototype development and file for a utility patent by the end of the year. Our diverse team are the best team to bring CB.app to the market.
Fantastic. Thank you, CB. So we have time for a few questions from the judges. Feel free to raise your hand if I can say, yeah, Dr. Justice, and then Dr. Shulam.
So my question is, when there is an abnormal result, how will you help the patient get care?
So I can actually answer that. So with the real-time notification system, physicians will be able to contact their patients and report these anomalies. Whereas in prior sessions, you would have to not only wait for the results to come out, but you would have to take time to look through the results and schedule an appointment as well.
Dr. Shulam?
Yep. It seems as though the key to this is the microfluidic chip, and knowing that this has been an area of intense research because many want to be able to do diagnostics on a small volume of blood. Can you tell me where you are with respect to this chip? Is this more of a, is this something that is close to being in testing, or is this kind of an abstract design?
Yeah, so we're actually towards the final stages of perfecting the device. We filed a provisional patent just yesterday, and so we're moving towards with the development of the chip. Our biggest point or hurdle to jump through is working on the impedance circuit, but we're very close to having it being tested and performing clinical trials in India.
And you will be able to tell what will be your outputs? It'll be hematocrit. Will it be a full CBC?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, CB. We're going to keep moving if that's all right. And so thank you so much. Great, Rick. Put your hands down, your virtual hands down, and then Alpha Dentist is going to be next. So if Alpha Dentist can raise their hands. And we'll start right. Alpha Dentist.
A major problem in our society is the underdetection of preventable oral diseases, especially in the elderly. Here we show how with poor oral hygiene, normal healthy gum can become gingivitis, often characterized by red swollen gums that may bleed easily. However, with proper cleaning and flossing, it is a resolvable condition. It is only with further neglect does gingivitis transition into peritonitis. We have developed an easy-to-use platform that screens for gingivitis. For lay people, early-stage gingivitis is difficult to discern from normal healthy gum, and is usually not until symptoms arise do patients consider seeking help. Our platform enables users to take a photo of their front teeth, and within seconds, our machine learning algorithm predicts the likelihood of gingivitis. Different augmentation methods have been applied to our model to reliably analyze low-quality images that may arise. The figure on the left is a gradient-weighted mapping of what our model sees as diseased. The graph on the right demonstrates the high accuracy of our trained model. As you can see in this figure, global prevalence of peritonitis is extremely high, with prevalence highest in individuals aged 50 and above. Trends in the US are remarkably similar, with 47.2% of Americans suffering from peritonitis in 2010. Thus, our screening tool is directed towards adults and patients in nursing homes and in correctional facilities. Taking into account the prevalence rates and the number of individuals in nursing homes and correctional facilities in Connecticut, our technology would reduce dental costs by upwards of $15 million. We propose to charge each facility $1,000 to $5,000 per year to use our technology. Of course, we would provide facilities with a free trial for the first 100 patients. And now for our demo. In researching competitors in teledentistry, we have identified a few competitive advantages. Specifically, our screening tool is directed toward the untapped market of nursing homes and correctional facilities and would save them both time and money. We provide a user-friendly interface with reliable results. Lastly, in the future, we do envision expanding our product to screen for other oral diseases. Here is our tentative roadmap. In addition to finalizing our technology, we plan to partner with experienced local dentists and begin a pilot study in the Advanced Center of Nursing and Rehabilitation, as well as in the New Haven Correctional Center. Upon that success, perhaps a year later, we'd like to expand to more nursing homes and correctional facilities in Connecticut. After a few additional years, we envision expanding the facilities outside of Connecticut and adapting our technology to screen for tooth decay. With that, G1, Melanie, and I would like to thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Alpha Dentist. Dr. Spatz, I see your hand, so you can go first.
Great. Thank you. So it seems like this product would...
And Mr. Vera.
Sorry about that. We had sometimes that's the YouTube continuation. We got to just stop that. That's good. All right, go ahead.
It seems like this product is broadly applicable to people like me or, my kids. So two questions. Why target it to the elderly? I know it's a big problem, but why not market it more broadly? And then my second question is are the AI algorithms derived from the patient population that you plan to target, or is it a question of more development, or how do we generalize this?
Absolutely. I can answer the first question, and Jihuan can answer the second one. In terms of the first question, we did consider the fact that this algorithm can be broadly applicable to really anyone, right? There are some younger populations that do suffer from gingivitis. And we wanted to focus on a more neglected population of people, especially because these are the people who tend not to have access to dental care. And so by focusing on a smaller market, we can lower our customer acquisition costs because we would be marketing it directly to healthcare facilities and to state correctional centers rather than having to market to laypersons.
Great. Dr. Shulam?
Yeah, so it seems as though this is a predictive model. My question to you is, once that data is gathered and the information given back to the nursing home, for instance, how will they act on that? How do they go ahead and change the path that that patient is on? It seems that could be, improving their care of their dental care could be difficult. So I'm just curious. I think it's interesting. It gives you a predictive model, but how's it actually going to be utilized on a day-to-day basis?
We have a technical difficulty. So our machine learning developer, Jihuan, he currently couldn't unmute himself.
Okay, he's able to unmute now. Thank you for that notice.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, my question is just that this is a predictive model, so it gives you the probability of getting the disease. So you're trying to determine it. My question is, what does the nursing home, for instance, do with this data to actually prevent the development of the disease? Because it seems as though this is more about, I see what it's doing, but my question is, how does this impact or change the course of the disease for a particular patient in a nursing home?
So based on the probability of being diagnosed by gingivitis, they might adapt the early treatment to cure the disease at early stage. And so basically it just outputs multi-logistic regression of the probability of being diagnosed with disease. So they can just use this data to bring in some treatments or medication they need in the nursing homes, I guess.
Okay, and Dr. Kashoff, do you have a question? I see your hand there.
Sure. It was also around business model that you're proposing. So you said that the facility will save time and money. How do you propose that they will save money? Who's currently paying, for example, for this care?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why we are confident that it will save nursing homes and correctional facilities money is because there are a couple of areas where there would be cost savings. One, transportation of nursing home patients and inmates when they have serious conditions. By screening for the disease earlier, you can not only prevent the cost of transportation and the cost of significant treatments. We estimated treatment for peritonitis is around like $1,000 to $5,000. To catch that early and only have to spend a few $100s for specialty toothpaste, etc., that would be huge. It would also improve care by decreasing wait time. In correctional facilities, at least, there tends to be one dentist per 1,000 plus inmates, right? And so to be able to triage it such that the patients who have symptoms and the patients who do have this disease, for them to get treatment earlier would be significantly more beneficial for the prisons and for the nursing homes.
Great. Thank you very much, Alpha Dentist. All right. So if Alpha Dentist can lower their hands, Cogometer is next. Cogometer, if you could raise your virtual hands, and we'll keep moving.
I hope that one day my dad will be able to walk me down the aisle and hold my future children in his arms. But I'm afraid that he may not be able to do that when the time comes. You see, my father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's when I was just 26. It seems like just a few days ago I was a boy and he was taking care of me. Now I'm taking care of him. Unfortunately, my father's not alone. Around 50 million people have dementia worldwide, and there are nearly 10 million cases added every year. But new scientific evidence reveals that early recognition of mild cognitive impairment and targeted lifestyle changes can slow progression of the disease. Our goal is to create an early detection strategy derived from everyday computer use that will enable users to assess, monitor, and strengthen their brain health over time. Our solution is to have an algorithm that functions as a free internet browser extension that tracks mild cognitive impairment by analyzing search history, typing patterns, and computer engagement, all measures that research has shown to be associated with cognitive performance. Here's our demonstration product, which has analyzed the text of one of our judges' email patterns and search history to produce a cognitive score. From this, users will be coached to do a scientifically validated intervention targeting lifestyle factors like diet, exercise, cognitive, and social stimulation. Here's our competitive landscape. As you can see, we stand out from the competition by providing a free, easy-to-use, accessible, and secure technology that seamlessly integrates into everyday life. You don't need to take any tests or do any games. There's a sizable market opportunity for detection of cognitive impairment. In 2021, the global cognitive assessment market was estimated to be $11.4 billion, with a 26% compound annual growth rate. The elderly population, which is at an elevated risk of Alzheimer's, makes up a subset of this market and is currently expanding. For this reason, we believe we can successfully penetrate the market by offering a passive way to track monitor, and improve cognitive function that differentiates us from the competitors. We propose a business model in which concerned individuals download this extension on the device, and we share de-identified information to third-party advertisers or public health institutions. Potential customers include pharmaceutical companies, medical groups, manufacturers of exercise equipment, and companies that promote nutritional interventions and food delivery. The value add for the user, in addition to the advertisement, is the digital coaching to make their minds healthier. This is the diversely skilled Cogometer team. We have physicians, scientists, engineers, and students. Thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you very much. So we'll take some questions. I see Dr. Shulam has the first hand up. Go ahead.
I just have two questions. One is, so will you be able to aggregate the information from multiple devices? So their phone, their iPad, and their computer? So that's number one. And number two, do you think patients would be willing, because even though the data is de-identified, it seems like there's going to be advertising that's going to then be directed towards these individuals. My question is, have you thought about how welcoming that may be by the patients?
So to answer your first question, similar to Chrome extensions that work both on your iPhone and also your home computer, our extension will also sort of map that. So we hope that, for example, if you're using Google on your iPhone, you'd also be using Google on your computer under the same account, and that we'd be getting data feeds from both sources. The second is, people that have mild cognitive impairment are intensely concerned about this, and are looking. We think that our potential customers are looking for an intervention to help them, and so I believe that while there may be some privacy concerns, just like with all targeted advertising, we believe that in this situation, this is something that people are electing to receive.
Dr. Justice?
Very interesting application, but it seems to combine both diagnostics and therapeutics. My question to you is, how confident are you that the therapeutics you're offering are superior to more proactive therapeutics that people might receive from a healthcare facility?
I think that we have to rely on what the scientific evidence suggests. So if you look at the interventions that were advertised in the Finger study and the Pointer study over the last decade, they're very simple interventions that basically involve nutritional changes, exercise changes, and basic cognitive stimulation tasks like puzzles, etc. And we expect to have the type of results that we would see in those trials. And I don't expect that in a geriatrics clinic that they would be offering anything substantially different than what the evidence base is currently recommending.
All right. Thank you very much, Cogometer. We're going to move on for timing. Thank you so much. You can lower your hands, and then Atrium Technologies is next. So Atrium Technologies, COVID-19 detection via smart wearables. All right.
My name is Rohan Alwalia, and I am a first year at Yale University. Our solution is Atrium Technologies. Atrium Technologies looks to predict pre-symptomatic COVID in a method that is affordable, convenient, efficient, comfortable, and dependable. While this provides both benefits for the individual and the population, such as health awareness, well-being, peace of mind for the individual, for the population, it reduces the disease spread of COVID-19. The current testing methods are uncomfortable, inconvenient, and expensive. There's an inefficient testing protocol, and that it leads to a costly testing infrastructure. There needs to be an improvement in this field. And COVID is currently spreading at a rate higher than before, at 1 million cases in the last 7 days. There needs to be a simple, trustworthy, and widespread method to reduce the spread of this disease. That's why we came up with our solution, which connects a smart wearable to help you predict the risk of COVID-19. We've applied machine learning techniques to make sure that the solution is effective, accurate, and inexpensive. We will collect the data from the smart wearable, pre-process it to normalize the algorithm, apply an elliptical outlier technique, and predict the COVID-19 risk and advise our patient. We believe that this device is more effective and better than the other devices in the market because it requires less time, it's less costly, and it has a pre-detection aspect. While the accuracy might not be the same as those of the antigen or molecular PCR test, we have found that we've always detected COVID and seem to over-detect COVID due to other levels, which can also lead to which can also lead to spreading the disease less. Our business model is to use COVID-19 to gain traction in our web app while developing other health features for other diseases, lifestyles, and stress. While this will be a free model, we look to do a freemium model in the future where we're charging for advanced statistical analysis of their data to provide insights into their life. There are multiple feature improvements that we can do on the device, especially in the algorithm. We first need to collect a better and more accurate data set that we can apply the machine learning and deep learning techniques that did not work in this current data set. This will allow us to create a better prediction of if the patient will develop COVID-19 and maybe in multiple days in the future. We'll also need to create a cleaner multi-platform interface that will work with any smart wearable device to increase the amount of patients that can use it.
All right. Thank you much. So we have time for 2 questions here for this group. Dr. Vermund, I see your hand, and then I saw Dr. Spatz. Did you have a question as well? So
Fair to say that this is like a health check, but with some objective data rather than relying on the patient to report. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, it would be a more objective method, I think, of screening. Yes.
go ahead, Dr. Spatz. Yeah.
What are some of the distinguishing features from other products out there? Like I have the Aura Ring and it's measuring my heart rate and temperature and heart rate variability to give, and is being studied as an early alert for COVID. How do you what distinguishes your product? How do you plan to use that data to distinguish something like COVID from just lack of sleep and increased stress that affect all of those same parameters?
Yeah, okay. So to answer your first question about, for example, your Aura Ring, we think that we can address a bigger segment of the market by building our technology on existing platforms like Fitbit and Apple Watch, because a majority of the population may not be willing to spend extra on a more specialized tracker. And to address your second question, could you repeat your second question? Sorry.
How will you distinguish something like, potential COVID versus just stress from taking finals and lack of sleep?
Yeah. So the paper that we based our project off, they looked at COVID patients where they found success in COVID patients. They did also look at healthy patients, and they did find that their model was giving alerts to those healthy patients too. And in the paper, they attributed it to things like stress, like finals. So we would have to do, we would need more data. There were 25 COVID patients in that data set to really validate our approach. And I think with this kind of model, since it's a general screening process, it's also good to err on the side of caution and have more true positives rather than trying to avoid false positives.
And Dr. Kashyap, I see your hand there. You have another question?
Sure. I heard you talk about predicting COVID risk versus predicting or rather detection from your model. Which one are you targeting?
Yeah, so we're acting as a kind of an alert system for COVID because this study found that anomalous heart rates, so higher resting heart rates, were associated with COVID coming up, say, in the next few days. So we're trying to detect those anomalous heart rates to kind of warn the user, not necessarily diagnose that they have COVID, but give them a sign that maybe they should be more careful and maybe they want to talk to a health provider.
Great. Thank you very much, Atrium Technologies. All right. So if you could lower your virtual hand, Sash is next. South Asians for Sexual Health, Team 559. If you can raise your hands, fantastic.
Hello, everyone. Today we present SASH, an app focused on building community and connecting people with the best care possible. Sexual health is a taboo topic in the South Asian community. Individuals with intersectional health needs routinely face even more obstacles when searching for appropriate healthcare and information. Studies show that 33% of South Asian women are not compliant with Pap smear recommendations, and this might be due to provider distrust. In addition, other studies show that Asian Indian patients are around twice as likely as white patients to perceive discrimination in their healthcare services. There are barriers to access for South Asians in seeking adequate sexual health services. There's no way for patients to determine what kind of experience someone of similar identity profiles has had with a particular provider. General review sites for clinicians are limited. Reading a review of a doctor written by a heterosexual white woman may not help a lesbian South Asian woman to understand what her experience will be like. We present SASH, a Yelp-like review app that allows South Asians to find sexual health providers that will provide respectful and appropriate care for your specific identity. The goal of this app is to 1. Enable individuals to find supportive providers for your identity, 2. To build communities of local South Asian people of various identities, and 3. Generate qualitative and quantitative data about South Asians in healthcare. Welcome to SASH, our community-based application. On the Find page, you can input your identities and medical condition of interest. The app stack ranks local providers based on previous reviewers. When you click on a provider, you can see average ratings for the environment, comfort, and expertise, and medical condition from previous reviewers of the same intersectional identity as you. In this case, we can see average ratings from this provider's previous gay, lesbian, female-identifying patients. After an appointment, you can input your own review using these sliders and inputting criteria as you see fit, and include comments about the experience, thereby adding to the data of the app. In discussion, you can see forums related to keyword searches and share your own posts with stories, experiences, and questions. We built an app that is geared towards producing a community-based review of providers, giving patients a better idea of what their experience may truly be like. Our value proposition stems from our emphasis on community. Longer-term care relationships with sexual health providers and peer engagement promote recurring app usage. Our competition, large clinician review platforms like ZocDoc, show anonymous user reviews of clinicians, but without intersectional perspectives. We plan to crowdsource our initial review database, starting with a pilot population of South Asian women via Facebook groups. For revenue generation, we will pair with providers and use a referral fee model that will allow us to both generate revenue and verify patient reviews. Since we are filling an unmet need for sexual health data in South Asian communities, we will seek research grants and license our data set by gathering consent and stripping health identifiers. Success metrics involved increasing positive reviews by South Asian patients with their sexual health providers, and future goals are to improve access to sexual health care in multiple marginalized communities. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Sash. Questions, Dr. Justice? I see your hand. You're on mute, though. Sorry, I muted you.
Could you just clarify the business model in terms of the referral fee? How would that work exactly?
Yes, so we really want to strike a balance between protecting the reviewer's privacy and then also collecting enough data to inform other patients. So that's why we shied away from using advertising models. So instead, when we integrate scheduling by working with clinicians, we can take a referral fee from clinicians when a reviewer makes an appointment through our application.
Dr. Torres?
You flagged that certain other platforms such as ZocDoc have anonymized reviews, making it hard to sort of hone in on the personal experience that an individual may have. How would you protect around instances where particularly small communities, they may be the only patient that has their exact set of characteristics that makes potentially them more easily identifiable in a particular physician network? How do you protect around those instances?
Yeah, so I think the goal is to make as many, make the patient population a little bit more narrow so that you can look for people who are similar. It is true that if you go if you try to go for an exact specific intersectional identity, there are fewer data points, and in which case you as a user can also work backwards and try to use less identifiers to get a more general perspective. So the goal is really to take the next step and narrow it down slightly. So we do recognize that does mean fewer reviews, but hopefully it's still useful and purposeful to the patients that do use it.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to keep moving. Thank you very much, Sash. That was wonderful. Next up is going to be Vax Chat. So if you can, Sash, if you can lower your virtual hands, VaxChat, if you could raise your virtual hands so you'll pop to the top of our view. Fantastic. And here we go.
Hi, everyone. We present to you VaxChat, an interactive online service that aims to reduce COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy. We are currently facing a nationwide and global pandemic that requires our collective action. Vaccine hesitancy is a critical problem for efficient vaccine rollout, but 39% of the public is currently hesitant to get the vaccine. Vaccine hesitancy is a nuanced challenge with a wide array of reasons, including concerns about side effects, safety, and efficacy, as well as a general historical mistrust in vaccines, especially among the Black communities. So here's where we come in. It's been shown that individualized campaigns are much more effective. VaxChat uses an algorithm to match and connect people having vaccine hesitancy with a local, trusted, and trained ambassador, such as a church leader or free clinic health educator.
First, you'd receive an SMS message after being referred by a friend or local ambassador. You can then sign in by linking a Facebook account after you answer about your vaccination plans. If you select yes, then you would immediately receive resources on booking an appointment if eligible. If you select no or unsure, you are brought to a short survey to best understand why you are hesitant. Based on your responses to the survey, VaxChat provides you with the tailored resources and the opportunity to speak with matched ambassador who's there to answer your questions. This conversation is used to generate insightful and direct data on why patients are hesitant to better tailor future responses. If convinced, there is then the opportunity to schedule a vaccine appointment if eligible. After, you're asked to become an ambassador and share with your others who may be hesitant to receive the vaccine. You can also refer friends, spreading the word about the vaccine's benefits.
Our matching algorithm uses the propensity score method, which calculates the propensity score for users and ambassadors based on a range of characteristics with a reason for vaccine hesitancy and geographic location weighted the most heavily. Other characteristics are also considered to a lesser extent, and we match the users and ambassadors based on similarity in scores. We will start with the iOS interface, but eventually develop 3 different interfaces to maximize our reach. We can store data regarding users' self-reported vaccine hesitancy reasons and leverage Facebook integration to access profile features and inform our matching algorithm.
Now, our business plan. To attain a sufficient pool of ambassadors, we will initially target recruitment at community health clinics, signing up volunteers and healthcare providers. Once we have a critical mass of ambassadors to ensure matching availability, we will then acquire our starting user base through the ambassadors networks and partner clinics' patient databases. At scale, we plan on using a referral model whereby users can send a link to their friends and family to also sign up for our service. Additionally, we expect to convert a percentage of our users to ambassadors. Thus, our platform is rapidly scalable on both the ambassador and user end. Finally, to finance the development of the platform, we will seek government grants and partnerships with pharma companies. VaxChat is poised to combat vaccine hesitancy through our targeted peer matching platform. So let's get our communities healthy stat with VaxChat.
Fantastic. Thank you, VaxChat. So I see Dr. Justice's hand up, so you can go first. And then Dr. Vermund.
So how are you going to model propensity? Where is the data coming from that you're going to model the propensity matching for the ambassadors?
Unmute yourselves to answer that. Can you unmute yourself to answer? Sorry. See if you can.
We're
Brian,
getting
go ahead.
there.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so just to address your question about our matching algorithm, I think the characteristics will primarily, at least the main one that we're looking at, is the reason for vaccine hesitancy, which will come from the initial survey that we present to first-time users. And the other would be geographic location. So that would most likely come from Facebook integration. But if a user, for example, chooses not to, then we can simply ask them to provide their location so we can best match them to an ambassador who's from their local area. So those would be the 2 that would be weighted most heavily.
So it's not really a formal statistical algorithm.
Entirely.
No, so we would basically just use a series of characteristics, weight them accordingly, and then use those to match users to ambassadors.
Okay. Dr. Vermund?
So my question is, if I'm a vaccine enthusiast. I want to use the app to find a place to get vaccinated. If I'm vaccine hesitant, what motivates me to use this app?
So the idea is that you're recruited by your friends or family in your local area. Ideally, both you and your ambassador are people who were initially vaccine hesitant, and you're going through this process in our platform to understand the reasons of hesitancy, talk through some educational resources in case there's some misinformation that's been spread through social media. And then
I'm getting a picture ready.
Oh, hello.
Go ahead. Sorry, I mute. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yes. So the idea is that because people from similar backgrounds or with similar concerns are able to talk to each other and engage with meaningful conversation and hear their concerns addressed, then they want to, partake in this process and help spread the word.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vax Chat. We're going to keep moving in the interest of time. So fantastic, Vax Chat. If you could lower your virtual hands, if supplementary is up next, if you can raise your virtual hand, and we'll queue up the supplementary.
Over 70% of Americans take a dietary supplement every single day. Americans spend more than $35 billion a year on dietary supplements. And unfortunately, the FDA, who is responsible for protecting and promoting public health, does not regulate dietary supplements. This means a company could potentially include harmful substances in their products. Every year, an estimated 23,000 emergency department visits in the United States are attributed to adverse effects related to dietary supplements. So our challenge is to address these questions. How might we protect the public from consuming dangerous supplements? And how might we educate the public to be more informed about the supplements they are taking? Online shopping is on the upward trend, especially during the COVID pandemic. We introduced this solution and use Amazon as an example. When a user goes on a page to shop for dietary supplements, the Google Chrome extension will light up. When clicked on, the user can see at the top suggestions about the safety and effective score, in addition to listing harmful ingredients and warnings about the product. Furthermore, it delivers research literature about the supplement to educate the user. So how does it work? A safety score is calculated based on descriptions of side effects, keywords being possibly safe and unsafe. The effectiveness score is calculated based on the level of confidence of the drug's active ingredients from a collection of clinical studies and their results. We've synthesized data from the NIH's Dietary Supplement Label Database and WebMD to provide our users with the most clear and comprehensive supplement ingredient information out there. We plan to reach millions of online consumers using a multifaceted marketing strategy that specifically targets the behavior of this group. By taking advantage of our browser tool, in conjunction with our unique data, we believe that Supplementary will turn a profit as we reach more users. We'd like to invite you on this journey to help get Supplementary in the hands of the millions who buy supplements online, enabling them to be better informed as they work hard to take care of themselves and their loved ones.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to take a time for 2 questions, and then we're going to take a 5-minute bio break. Just a quick break till 4:52 or so till the next one, or so on East Coast time. So if people need to use the restroom, please do. But go ahead. I see Amy Justice has a hand up, please, for a question.
So how will you update your information? There's new information all the time about these supplements and their safety. And how will you grade the quality of the data?
Let's see if you can unmute yourselves. Who's trying to raise? Who would like to answer this one? Let's see. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I was I just got the unmuting ability. Okay, so anyway, That's a good point. Right now, we're drawing our data from a national resource, the Office of Dietary Supplements, which is updated. I'm not sure with what frequency, but on a relatively regular basis, as well as WebMD, which is the same way. So the data that we are aggregating would be updated in that way, as well as the data that we get from the other sources would also be updating as well.
Dr. Kashyap?
Who is your customer? Are you targeting the individual, the supplement manufacturer? It wasn't clear.
We're going to target individuals. So as we mentioned in our presentation, about 70 to 80% of Americans use supplements every day. And the trend is that the online purchases are growing as the industry in general. So we are going to leverage Facebook and Google Ads to target people who use supplements and you possibly use a rewards-based system to get interest from new customers.
So that individual is also paying for the product?
We'll have a free version as well as a premium one. In the premium version, we are thinking about implementing the ability to recommend supplements based on health concerns. So say an individual wants to decrease his or her levels of cholesterol, we'll help to find safe products that contain ingredients that will help with this.
Hello everyone, today we will be presenting to you Mood AI, a tool to help healthcare workers screen for depression. First, let's take a look at the problem. Depression is the leading cause of disability in the US for ages 15 to 44. And overall, 264 million people worldwide live with depression. And in the US alone, this amounts to a total economic burden of around $210 billion. Despite these alarming numbers, however, not even 50% of people with mental health conditions, including depression, receive treatment. Screening instruments are frequently inaccurate at identifying individuals who have a diagnosis of depression. And with the current COVID-19 pandemic and its psychological impacts, detecting these patients is ever more critical. Annual screening of depression with current methods is costly, with more than $190,000 needed to gain 1 year of life with quality. Telehealth use has increased over 80%, and there are no suitable tools to detect depression during these visits. And that is exactly why we have created Mood AI, a screening tool powered by machine learning to automatically detect patients with possible depression during telehealth visits. Imagine you are talking to your provider about diabetes. Mood AI runs in the background and will alert the physician if you are screened positive for depression. Here's how our end product would look.
Okay, great. How often do you monitor your sugars at home? What have they been?
They're usually between 90 and 200 sometimes, but I did have a piece of candy, which is what made it spike into the 200s.
Mood AI is a multimodal machine learning model that analyzes images, voice intonation, and the content of the speech. And by combining these three, it will provide doctors a final report with the probability of depression, allowing them to either do a formal depression assessment or refer the patient. The model will be implemented into a plugin for a HIPAA-compliant telehealth visit tool such as Zoom, or as a standalone application. Let's talk about our development process. We will partner with healthcare institutions to co-develop our models using data from a diverse patient background. Our gold standard will be clinical diagnosis, and we will compare our model against other tools like PHQ-9. Next, we will expand partnerships to other healthcare organizations, telehealth companies, and finally, we will submit the application for pre-market approval and begin marketing our product. Mood AI has told me that you all are excited, so let's talk about our business plan. While the potential clients bring us an enormous market, we will focus on one specific segment first. We decided to start with health centers as they are the ideal partner to co-develop and deploy our models fast, and will serve as a pilot to then expand our solutions to other areas. Health centers can get several benefits from using our product. Compared to the current screening practice, our product requires no extra physician overload, provides higher sensitivity and accuracy to detect depression, will decrease the costs associated with undiagnosed and untreated depression, and most importantly, it will save costs to patients, healthcare systems, government, insurance companies, and employers. Our team is comprised of doctors, programmers, data scientists, and even a product manager, and these diverse backgrounds and skill sets will enable us to achieve success. Thank you for listening.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mood AI. So I see some hands. I see first Dr. Torres and then Dr. Justice, and then Dr. Spatz if we have time. Yeah.
Two questions I had from mine. I'd be curious to hear what was the training data set that was used to build the algorithms to then assign a probability of detection, and what do you think is the value gained from using this approach as opposed to, I think as you alluded to in your presentation, the PHQ-9 survey just before they start their telemedicine visit?
That's a great question. So obviously the first step would be to develop this model. And that's why we mentioned we would be partnering with the health system and an academic system like Yale to enroll patients, to enroll patients both who have a diagnosis of depression and healthy controls to first develop our model. And then we would be comparing this to the PHQ-9 to validate our model first. And the benefits, as we mentioned, would be first, PHQ-9 is not an accurate screening tool. It even may fail to detect patients who have a diagnosis of depression to like screen them positive. So machine learning would improve upon that. And we have studies and data who like other people who have used machine learning to they have been able to identify depression using voice recognition and facial features. So we are hoping to build on that concept.
Great. Dr. Justice?
So just to follow on to that question, the preliminary data that you have that suggests that this is feasible, how sensitive and specific do you think this kind of an approach can be?
So again, that's a great question. So the first step would be to maybe through a non-inferiority study show that our model is not inferior to PHQ-9, and then we can improve that model by training other data sets. So that would be our first step, and then the other steps would follow.
Dr. Spatz?
Are there other moods that you can reference that to demonstrate that this is feasible? Kind of to Dr. Justice's question, like what if we can't predict depression better than the PHQ-2 or PHQ-9?
Sure. Well, that would obviously go to the process of developing this machine learning algorithm. And we know based on previous studies that they have looked at depression, they have looked at anxiety, that these models were actually accurate in detecting and screening those. And and for future steps, we were focusing on depression as our primary goal. And once we validate our model for this disease, and if it comes to fruition, then we can develop to detect and screen for other mood disorders.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mood AI. So Mood AI, if you could put your virtual hands down, the next up is going to be, so it's Gene Drive that has now become Symbiospore. So Symbiospore, if you could raise your hands. All right, fantastic. And we'll queue up Symbiospore. There you go.
From making crops more nutritious to making livestock more disease resistant, genetically modified organisms play a central role in modern life. In 2011, this role expanded when geneticists created CRISPR mechanisms to spread malaria prevention genes throughout populations of mosquitoes. The researchers achieved this spread through a process called gene drive, in which the altered gene codes for a protein that cuts the corresponding allele on its homologous chromosome and replaces it with another copy of the altered gene. While standard sexual reproduction gives both alleles a 50% chance of being inherited, gene drive nearly guarantees that all offspring have the modified gene. At Symbiospore, we plan to leverage gene drives to fight fungal infections, which kill about 1.5 million people every year. To prevent infections, we would encode a kill switch within a gene drive region, which would trigger cell death when the cell comes into contact with a particular molecule. Therefore, the modified fungus will grow and spread its kill switch genes throughout the population. We'd have no noticeable effect unless a spore entered a human, in which case the kill switch receptor would trigger fungal death, allowing the human to avoid illness.
As a specific example, Cryptococcus neoformans, a fungus found in soil, decaying wood, and bird droppings, infects about 220,000 people per year with a mortality rate of 82%. It's especially prevalent in the global south, and while treatments do exist, this type of medication is difficult to access, and there are often cost limitations for the people who need it the most. Here's how Symbiospore could work for Cryptococcus. First, insert a gene drive sequence that codes for a modified adrenaline signal receptor that will trigger cell death when activated. Then, if a Cryptococcus spore enters a human, it will encounter adrenaline, triggering apoptosis and preventing further infection.
The extremely efficient gene drive mechanism makes Symbiospore more successful than other methods of disease prevention. In order to address potential adverse ecological impacts, Symbiospore will run expensive stepwise tests using a variety of models that would enable us to ensure both efficiency and safety. This includes daisy chain gene drives, which are self-limiting gene drives that grow increasingly weak and die off after transmittance through a couple of generations. In addition to the use of daisy chains, several other phases, as seen in the figure, will be carried out to ensure optimum protection of biodiversity and the environment.
In order to protect the balance of nature, we need to prevent any unintentional side effects of introducing our Cryptococcus. To demonstrate a lack of adverse effects, we would show our Cryptococcus cells are still decomposers, and only pass the modified gene to other Cryptococcus cells. We would also show that our specimen is equally as fit, and therefore would not significantly change the population numbers of Cryptococcus. We estimate that research would cost about $1 million and last about 5 years.
In essence, Symbiospore is an innovative prevention method that could help save millions of lives from fungal infections with the help of cutting-edge genetic technology.
Great. Thank you, Symbiospore. So if we can pause that YouTube from happening, and we'll go for questions. Let's see if I can see some hands from our judges. Let's see. Dr. Vermoon, I see your hand up.
Who is your target audience for this preventive strategy, and how many people would you have to offer the technology to prevent each case? In other words, is it 1,000 to 1, 100 to 1, 20 to 1? So the target audience, and then the number of persons that you would have to engage to prevent a single case.
So I think that, if I may, so I believe that your first question had to do with who are we marketing this towards? And I think it's fair to say that, am I unmuted? Okay, good.
We can hear you. Yeah.
All right, stellar. Thank you. So I think it's fair to say that our target audience would not necessarily be the individuals in, say, sub-Saharan Africa, but rather it would probably be the local governments or overarching governmental like organizations like the United Nations, for example, that might take a particular interest in our project. And I know there were a number of other questions packed in there, so would you please repeat?
How many patients would you have to give your product to prevent each anticipated infection?
I'm afraid
you're giving your product prophylactically to patients at risk. Is that right?
No, rather instead what we're doing is engineering the fungi present in nature, such that if
nature, that's the point I missed. I thought you were.
Yes, no worries.
Thank you.
I'm on mute. So if there's time for one more question, is there any other questions from the judges for this group? If not, we'll move along. Thank you so much, Symbiospore gene drive, just listed as that. So in your judging rubrics, and we're gonna. So if you guys can put down your hands, and we'll put up next is We Breathe. So if We Breathe can raise your virtual hands, there you are, fantastic, and we'll cue it up.
Meet John, a COPD patient who's recently recovered from COVID. He has some breathing difficulty and has been advised chest physiotherapy. He's afraid to go to the hospital, and this situation adds to his stress. Like John, over 250 million people with COPD and 25 million with long COVID worldwide are advised chest physiotherapy for their breathlessness, and nearly 60% of them admit to not practicing it because it's cumbersome. Also, 65% of all outpatient visits are stress related, which affects at least 150 million Americans and costs the state 400 billion US dollars annually. We are Team We Breathe, and we bring you our solution to improve lung function and reduce stress. We Breathe consists of a VR headset, a breathing tube with a Bluetooth-enabled sensor for your smartphone, and snorkeling videos overlaid with sensor data, providing a gamified experience. Why snorkeling? Research has shown that snorkeling improves heart and lung health by promoting deep breathing against resistance. By integrating relaxing audiovisual cues, deep breathing exercises, and active engagement into a single wearable, We Breathe provides an immersive, relaxing experience. The user wears a VR headset and our breathing tube, which transmits real-time data onto the VR snorkeling video. After the session, they receive a report which can then be shared with their physicians. Here's a short clip demo of our AV guide. Compared to our competitors, We Breathe offers a more personalized, immersive, visually guided, community-driven, and AI-powered solution. We are the first to market for this type of deep breathing device. We aim to improve compliance with COPD therapy and promote wellness by reducing stress, resulting in a healthier and happier population. Our implementation strategy involves 3 specific focus groups: prototyping and validating our prototype. We plan to market to wellness centers, pharmacies, and medical centers, as well as digitally through social media. We aim to commercialize directly through our webpage and e-commerce platforms, as well as other strategic stakeholders. One We Breathe device roughly costs $29 US to produce and will retail for 44 USD. We offer a subscription model priced at $15 US per month. In comparison, one session of home chest physiotherapy costs $99 US with insurance. We aim to capture 0.5% of the market at the end of year 1 and 1.5% at the end of year 3. Our team's real-world expertise in the domains of clinical medicine, public health, innovation policy, artificial intelligence, R&D, and product development uniquely positions us to provide a much better solution than our competitors. Join us and breathe easy. We are Team We Breathe.
Thank you, We Breathe. I'm breathing easier now myself. We're going to look at our judges to see if anyone, I see, so Dr. Kashap, and then I believe Dr. Torres also.
Thank you for your presentation. Your virtual head that you're talking about, do you see that as a reusable part of the whole experience with the actual device attachment being individualized? Or is that
Yes,
to be
so
purchased?
the virtual headset is a very individual phenomenon where people have the option to buy what they want. But if people do want something from our end, then we are thinking of giving something as simple as Google Cardboard, which is essentially a $10 unit which can be printed at home, and they can just pop in their smartphone there and watch the videos on that too, for a more cost-effective option.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Dr. Torres?
Yeah, my question was in terms of evaluating, to the point to segue from the earlier question, especially for underrepresented or underserved communities, having sort of a more cost-effective option, certainly great. But what would you do if there are certain signals that pop up through the use of your application and device that certainly begin to highlight the need for more critical care, and perhaps these are individuals that are either uninsured or may not have resources to access the necessary care? What would be the mechanism to then get them the care that they need?
Okay, so this is not only a diagnostic tool, but it seeks to replace what is the incentives spirometry, for instance, that's given to long-term COPD patients. So they would also be evaluated by their physician and then prescribe this device in order to ensure that they're sticking to their pulmonary rehabilitation. Because what we found in our research is that most of the people do not do their incentive spirometry because they think it's cumbersome and it's too heavy to be lugging around
and they feel that it's not engaging enough for them to be using it.
Great. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, we're going to keep moving. Thank you so much, We Breathe. We Breathe, if you could lower your hands, your virtual hands. And then next up is okaya.me. So if okaya.me can raise their virtual hand, so you'll pop to the top, and we'll queue up okaya.me.
Hi, I'm Gregory Montiel. Welcome to Okaya. Despite everyone's best efforts, our health is deteriorating. Over 900 million people suffer from a mental disorder, and every 40 seconds, someone dies by suicide. While many apps, people, and telehealth services are trying to tackle the challenge, they all struggle with being able to properly diagnose someone's well-being because the existing models are not sophisticated and are likely to be biased and lacking contextual information. So rather than yet another app, why not focus on an API that all these systems could use? An API that can quickly, easily, and accurately diagnose an individual's state of well-being. This is what we're building at Okaya, where the quality of our assessment is based on computer vision, voice, and contextual data analysis. Our early product can already plug into existing systems. For example, we're collaborating with the VA to address veteran suicide. When a patient checks in, our API is called, and we capture multiple data points. Then, we use computer vision and voice analysis, not just for assessment purposes, but also validation, because as we all know, a lot of communication is nonverbal. This is strategic for our customers because they can now get real-time alerts and recommendations out to their patients. The benefits for our users are clear and measurable. They can transfer development and cost away from tech towards their core competencies, building more resilient operations. They can differentiate themselves from the competition, and they benefit from a contextualized, ever-growing dataset to improve patient prevention and outcomes. Our business model is transaction-based, just like Twilio, where we charge a fee for each analysis. Our first step is integrating with telehealth services and then plugging into the myriad of existing and growing wellness apps. Our goal is to reach 1 million assessments by the end of 2022. Not only do we have a strong team with many years of business, computing, and data science expertise, we are also lucky enough to have a strong and very hands-on advisory board. We've come a long way in 2020 and have signed our first customers. We're also very proud of the work we're doing with the National Artificial Intelligence Institute, helping the VA and first responders. We're just getting started and are looking for collaborations in many fields, including pilots and research in academia. Thank you, and we're looking forward to collaborating with you to solve the challenge of well-being.
Thank you, okaya.me. All right, so we have time for two questions. Questions from our judges. I'll look for hands for our judges. Dr. Shulam, go ahead.
No, my quick question, just out of curiosity, are you an established company?
Yeah, we are. Well, recently, as in a few months.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the judges? If you don't, we have one from my co-host who joined us from,
I should have brought mine, David.
That's
as well.
right, exactly. It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without someone
right.
coming in. Exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much, okaya.me. So I'll have you put your virtual hands down. Appreciate it. And then AI Med is next. If you could raise your virtual hands, please. And we'll queue up AI.me. Fantastic.
We are AI Med, and we want to revolutionize healthcare monitoring in the ICU. How, you may ask? Well, first, let me tell you why.
New infections are on the rise in Europe despite the partial lockdowns imposed in many countries.
Intensive care units are full, and healthcare workers are reaching their burnout limit. Monitoring each and every movement of the patients, along with any visitor from outside, is a task in itself that further adds to this burden and compromises healthcare services. However, we have the solution. Let's take a look. We provide an AI-based solution making use of the CCTV cameras inside intensive care units. What do we do with it? With a video as a single input, we are able to identify and track for how long and where is an individual, either it being a patient, doctor, or an external visitor. We can also determine the position of the patient, if he's lying in bed or standing. With this information, we can generate alerts both for the attending physician responsible for the patient and for a centralized intranet platform. Since we take patients' data security very seriously, we will make sure that the system complies with GDPR guidelines. We partnered up with Kaggle and are now in the development stage of a facial emotion recognition system. But what about our future? Well, our next step is to cross this information with time variables, internal hospital databases, and sensor monitoring. From this, we can provide statistical analysis of how a patient is evolving and how much physical support it requires. Are you willing to join us on this project? Reach us out.
Great. Thank you very much, AI Med. Questions from our judges. Let's see. Give him a second here. All right, Dr. Spatz, go ahead.
What are these data supposed to influence? Are these data for the patients and their families? Are these data to be used by the healthcare team as part of like research? How are you using the data that's derived from this?
Thank you for the question. And first of all, I'm sorry if the video was being interrupted and it was not properly rendered. And in terms of the data itself, the way you want to use it is for internal usage in the hospital to generate alerts for the attending physicians. So it's not for the family, it's not for the patients, it's for the doctors themselves to use in their medical practice.
Okay, we have time for
I can
more.
definitely specify if you want me to further.
Oh, go ahead.
In the video, we are
actually,
showcasing.
Go ahead,
Sorry?
and then go ahead and finish your answer, and then Dr. Kashap has the last question.
Okay. So in the video, we are showcasing live images of the patient or the worker monitorization. However, we only opted to do so for an easier visualization of how the product is going to work. But within our final product, it will not be possible to store these recordings, let alone to showcase them. And this is all because of privacy reasons. As you could see, the code wasn't perfect. It was not perfectly accurate, but we only developed this code in a short time span of these hours. So we still need to perfect the code so that it perfectly identifies and tracks who is in the room and doing what. But yeah, this is what we could develop in this time span of the hackathon.
Dr. Kashap?
So your product identifies who is in the room doing what, and not getting into too much detail on the role. My question is around what kind of alerts to the clinicians are you envisioning?
First of all, we would like to generate alerts mostly based on the condition of the patient when it's not possible to be physically present in the room. For example, me as a doctor working in a COVID-19 ward, a lot of times we have to leave the patients inside rooms where there is no visual connection to them. So, for example, we can identify things that are not seen or foreseen in the regular healthcare tracking systems. So, for example, convulsions states, we have a lot of patients that develop convulsions after fevers, and we can only identify those through visual recognition, but also to identify potential public health burdens, if we have a lot of people inside those rooms or not. And this is also a statistical analysis that can be withdrawn from that for further improvement in the future on practices within the hospitals themselves.
Great. Thank you so much, AI Med. We really appreciate it. Amazing work, everybody. We've got one left. So if AI Med can lower their hands, and then it's, I believe it's Simon. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If Simon can raise their hands, and we'll cue it up.
Chronic kidney disease is a life-threatening condition affecting numerous individuals. In the United States alone, the number of end-stage renal disease patients is projected to exceed 1 million by 2030.
In addition to cumbersome and frequent dialysis, these patients are often hospitalized due to preventable complications. This accounts for the majority of Medicare spending in dialysis, to the tune of $53,000 per patient per year.
These hospitalizations are due to complications easily preventable through dialysis. Complications include building up toxic electrolyte concentrations or excess fluid retention.
Patients can suffer acute renal injury and worsening of their chronic kidney disease. Dialysis patients experiencing fluid overload will typically visit the emergency room, which is unnecessary because dialysis itself can mitigate these symptoms safely. Dialysis care-related spending exceeds $75 billion, with nearly one-third being spent on inpatient care alone.
With enough warning before an episode, patients could be treated appropriately, efficiently, and cost-effectively, a significant healthcare burden on payers, providers, and most importantly, hundreds and thousands of patients could be eased by effective monitoring.
We are Simon, and we exist to solve this problem. Our team has developed a wearable device that continuously monitors interstitial sodium, potassium, and pH, as well as skin hydration, in order to predict emergent episodes well in advance in these patients. This technology can be patented.
We rely on electrochemical biosensing based on existing literature, employing microscale solid contact ion selective electrodes, as well as electrodermal activity sensing as a proxy for hydration.
These electrodes are at the end of a probe which is placed transdermally into the patient's abdomen, avoiding contact with any sensitive arm vasculature. The base of the probe meets a patch-providing battery as well as Bluetooth relay to a smartphone app, which provides constantly updating trends, emergency contacts and alerts, and a diet tracking feature.
The application will also leverage machine learning from user data to enhance predictive power and constantly improve reliability of detecting true episodes. This data will be completely anonymized and secured with only minimal information extracted to a server for quality improvement.
Our market research showed no competitors available for Simon. Large dialysis organizations and commercial and governmental payers all have a strong incentive to support this device through their venture arms because of the financial benefits as well as improvements in patient quality of life.
Once the device is marketable, we will have recurring revenue from regular replacement/servicing of sensors. Stakeholders will experience returns here as well as by capturing the lost profits depicted in the table, to the tune of $262 million.
In order to bring Simon to the market, we will go through the FDA's De Novo device market approval pathway after rigorous research and development and IDE collection of some clinical data. The timeline is highly variable but would take about 3.5 years.
Both medically and economically, Simon will add to patient quality of life and reinvent the way we think of dialysis. With your help, we can bring Simon to market, allowing true change in dialysis care.
Great. Thank you very much. And I'm sorry I mispronounced your name there, but we'll take questions here. I see a hand from Dr. Justice first, but you got to unmute yourself. Sorry about that.
So is the idea that the monitor would alert the patient when they need to have early dialysis? Is that basically the idea?
So essentially, the way this is best described is as a continuous monitoring tool. Oftentimes, whether you have an acute episode or you need to be dialyzed immediately, you won't know until you have a next visit to dialysis session, or you need to actually have a lab test or such. The reason why this product is important is because if in case someone does not undergo dialysis properly, or say they have an improper diet in a particular day, which is not their dialysis day, they need to know that they need to be dialyzed or else they'll lead to serious complications. Our goal is to pick up within all the gaps between dialysis sessions to make sure that they do not have continuing health problems.
Dr. Spatz? Oh, sorry. Did you have a follow-up, Dr. Justice?
Yeah, I had a quick follow-up. So when you did your business model and how much cost savings there would be, did you take into account the cost of the extra tests and dialysis that the false positives that were generated by your assay might be generated?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So the false positives, they would actually be ideally minimized through the predictive modeling that Avi may have mentioned, using the real-time data collected from patients. Regardless, there will be false positive. That's just a given. So with that, the dialysis that they would need, they would just go into the dialysis clinic, an outpatient clinic, and their dry weight would be measured. They're always taken back to their dry weight. And so based on that, they would, at the clinic, it would be determined whether they do need to be dialyzed or not. And so that would also help mitigate.
Additionally, there are some safety measures in place. For example, the National Association mandates that you can't dialyze a certain quantity more often than 7 hours. So we're going to be still following those regulations. We want to only send them to clinics when there's an actual emergency and avoid all other healthcare costs. And at the end of the day, there's still a significant portion that is allocated to acute acute episodes. So even if we reduce that cost through maybe fewer false positives, it's still saving the healthcare system a lot of money.
Great. We'll give the last question to Dr. Spatz.
In heart failure patients, the volume status has remained very elusive. What do you plan to validate your product against for deriving volume status?
So for the actual validation process, we suppose actually doing routine lab tests during the actual clinical trial phase of our product. Currently, we're using a skin conductance-based proxy methodology, which has proven a high accuracy, especially when aided with machine learning algorithms. However, we want to verify this with truly available clinical data to verify that this methodology is the correct methodology before we allow it to release in the market. That's why we've allocated a significant portion, as represented in our Gantt chart in the presentation, as to the actual timeline by which we're following the process.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So first of all, I just want to thank everybody for fantastic presentations, and congratulations to everyone, not just those who've made it to the final. You're going to see us, the judges and I are going to go off into the breakout room to go do some of the judging, and you'll hear from Jody and Michelle to do some polling on the Audience Choice Awards. But congratulations to everyone. It is amazing what you can accomplish in a weekend. Unbelievable. So thank you so much. And so hang tight for a little bit. And Jody and Michelle, you can take over the main room, and we will go to, so judges, we should go to the breakout rooms. All right. We're going to welcome everybody back in. And all right. So if everybody is there, I think most people are coming back in now. Well, the judges have decided. We are very excited. So so Jody and Michelle, if you want to put on the PowerPoint here. We're very excited. So I just want to thank everybody, in this last few minutes here who participated. Number one, I want to just say that even if you didn't make it to the finals, you will get feedback back. We will send out post-hack follow-up and feedback. I just want to congratulate everybody. This was amazing. This was our best hackathon yet, virtually. Virtually our first and our largest for sure. So really fantastic work. And the judges wanted to highlight that this was really hard. There was amazing talent. It was incredibly close. So all of you should be thought of as winners, honestly, for getting this far. So, all right, we're going to go from the winners we're going to start with the Audience Choice Award first. And the Audience Choice Award, which is $750, goes to Supplementary. Congratulations, Supplementary. Fantastic work. $750. Congratulations. That was awesome. All right. The next is third place. In third place winner today, and which is the honorable mention, which is $1,000 prize. The $1,000 prize goes to CB Dot. Congratulations, CB Dot. Third place winners. Congratulations. Well done. Fantastic. Yes, the virtual clap, everybody. All right. And now in second place, our $1,500 prize, runner-up prize. This was very tight. Second place was, I actually forget. Oh, yes. It was Simon, the one I mispronounced before, but now we'll get correct. Congratulations to Simon. $1,500, your runner-up prize. And the winner of this year's grand prize at the Yale CBIT Hackathon 2021, a $2,500 prize to the winners. We Breathe. Congratulations to We Breathe. Yes, that's right. Excited We Breathe. We are very excited for you. So just we want to thank all the winners and all the participants. You all were fantastic. We want to thank the judges, the sponsors, the mentors, the behind-the-scenes hackathon committee, Jody and Michelle, who ran this flawlessly over Zoom and Discord and all the other platforms, DevPost. If you have any questions, please follow up with us. You can email us if you want post-hack support. find us at CBIT. We will help you either at the Yale School of Medicine or Yale School of Public Health. There are a number of us who really want to help you. Even if you didn't win today, you all are winners. We want to encourage you and thank you for taking your time over the weekend to hack with us. And to meet a lot of diverse people. A lot of the information will be available to you on DevPost, and we'll send out a post-hackathon survey to get your feedback. But please stay in touch, and thank you all to everybody.
And one last thing, the CBIT team will reach out to the winners to receive your cash prize.
Thank you, and thank you to Michelle and Jody for running the command center here. This was a real honor, and it is before 6 o'clock East Coast time. So for those of you football fans, you have time to go catch the second game. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for coming and to our Yale CBIT Hackathon. We'll see you next year.